Thank you. We will now proceed with questions, and we will again rotate the order. And with Mr. Solano having started with his opening comments first, I will now address Mr. O'Donnell with the first question, and each of you will be given the opportunity to answer the same question. First question from our audience is, there's a warrant article proposing shortened speaking times to improve efficiency of town meeting. Do you have any other suggestions to improve efficiency of town meeting?
That's a pretty broad question. I will address the article which has been sponsored by some people in the room, amongst others, to shorten the first time a speaker speaks from a 10-minute limit to a 6-minute limit, and the second time from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. I'm okay with that change. It is a judgment question as to where you draw the line between unfettered opportunity to speak on the part of an individual and the desire of the body as a whole to get the work done. And my observation over the years is that the willingness of people in general, and Hingham voters in particular, to listen to long speeches is getting lower and lower. We're in an age of instant communications, and therefore I feel that a modification in this area is probably useful. We can, if there are people who have a very long presentation that will take more than 6 minutes, the moderator can recognize 2 people in sequence and divide the presentation so that it can be made without its being unnecessarily fractured. Thank you.
Mr. Manning.
Article 29 is another attempt by the selectmen to restrict the citizen petitioner's free speech rights under the First Amendment. The petition must enclose his article in the warrant in a bare bones form, while the committee has a printed form that is unrestricted in its extent. As long as the speaker's words are relevant, material, and competent, he must be heard. If the discussion becomes redundant and repetitive, it's the moderator's obligation to end the discourse. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salerno.
Thank you. As far as how town meeting goes these days, I'm pretty happy with the efficiency of it. When this article was first, this question was first posed to me, I didn't completely understand the article, and the article is improving efficiencies, and it does allow an out for the moderator to, as our current moderator stated previously, to allow the debate to move forward. So I certainly would not be opposed to that. I'm also not opposed to hearing more ideas from the community. That's really how we're going to become more efficient in our town meeting. As far as it stands right now, I do not have any new ideas for improving efficiencies. But as I said, my door will always be open and my ear will always be there for you to speak to. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question, we will start with Mr. Manning. Do you feel Hingham should change the legislative practice of representative town meeting rather than open town meeting?
That's a rather difficult question because the legislative process has been shown to be quite futile in large organizations. Unfortunately, the elected representatives frequently don't follow the requests of the voters. This is going from federal government, state government, and unfortunately even town government. I would retain the present system.
Thank you. Mr. Salerno.
Thank you. This was a question that was posed to us by the Hingham Journal as well, and I think it was a great question because there are many communities that are moving to different forms of government. Currently, as it stands, it's not broken, so why fix it? We do a great job with our town meeting as it stands. Our advisory board is phenomenal. They put in many hours. Moving towards a representative town meeting could just upset more people and have more people feel that their participation is not welcomed into our town government. I want more people involved, not less. So I would keep this current system.
Thank you. Our next question, oh sorry, Mr. O'Donnell, I apologize. I'm moving ahead of myself.
agree with most of what Mr. Salerno has said. I think that keeping the open town meeting is in our interest. It's interesting, historically, the move to a representative town meeting has occurred primarily in the late 30s and 40s, and in rather large towns. And since then, there has been very little movement in that direction. And as towns with open town meetings, big towns as big as Hingham tended to grow, they have accommodated the open town meeting and have not moved to representative town meetings. Exception has been some very large towns like our neighbors in Weymouth and Braintree that have gone to city forms of government, basically. But the representative town meeting's been talked about, but we can accommodate all the people who want to come. I agree with the point that we were good to go down to a couple of hundred people when 1,000 voters would like to be heard. I don't think that's a step forward. I think that's a step backward, and I would not favor our taking it.
Thank you. Our next question, we'll start with Mr. Salerno. Do you feel the town moderator has too much appointing influence in our town government?
That's a great question. I feel that our appointing power right now, in terms of the moderator and the selectmen, can at times be, yes, too much. We don't use our land boards, we don't use our town clerk, we don't use our town treasurer. There are many elected boards in this community that do not have appointing power, but have a say in what's going on in our town government on a day-to-day basis. They know the parties involved, they know the people involved, they know the issues. I feel that there could be a different way of appointments. I do have some ideas, but at this point, yes, I do think that maybe the moderator has too much appointing authority.
Thank you. Mr. O'Donnell.
You will be shocked to hear that I disagree. I believe the moderator's appointing authority in Hingham is appropriate. The moderator is, in effect, the speaker of the town meeting, the head of the legislative branch of the government, but not a person who in our tradition has been taking policy positions and trying to dictate and direct the action of the body, unlike some other speakers in other bodies. But the responsibility for the advisory committee particularly is to advise the town meeting as a whole, and the moderator's authority to appoint them is to get a wide variety, a big committee of 15 citizens of various backgrounds who will bring the best judgment to the town meeting. I think it would be a mistake to elect it, as has been proposed by some, or to divide the appointing authority as some might wish. I believe it's in good hands.
Mr. Mann.
At last calculation, the moderator had the power to appoint 60 individuals to different commissions and committees and boards. I think this is an overwhelming number that should be distributed among other entities rather than the moderator. The advisory committee is totally appointed by the moderator, and as we all know, there's a debt of obligation when one is appointed to a commission to usually follow the commands of the appointing authority. The one who appoints has the power to control without accountability. I've introduced a warrant article to have the Board of Selectmen be held accountable for all appointments in the town. Thank you.